Hey there, this is Jeff with Final Boss. We are talking about dialogue tags over here, and this is going to hopefully help some of you all in your writing and in your dialogue writing. Dialogue in modern writing is one of the most heavily used things. A lot of, especially thriller genres, a lot of action genres, a lot of genres where there's a very fast pace, one of the ways that is acquired is by heavy use of dialogue. That will definitely speed up pacing in your story. So, if you are going to be utilizing dialogue, you may as well know some tips to make it more effective, especially around dialogue tags. So, what's happening a lot in modern writing is dialogue tags are getting generally less utilized. And so this isn't the norm. There are still lots of places you want to use dialogue tags, but overall there are some shorthand being done around them. The top example is that, right? Joe punched Jeff. That'll teach you. That is a shortening of the bottom one. Joe punched Jeff and said, that will teach you, right? And the set is implied because you're using perigraphy. You'll keep them on the same paragraph. A new paragraph would signify a new speaker. So you can use a lot of those tools to save you some room, to save you the dialogue tag, the said, the grumbled, the whatever. A lot of writers will give people a hard time about corny dialogue tags, and this is one way to avoid that, is just to skip them altogether unless they are necessary. And there are places where they are necessary, but when you have a choice, you can generally tell. That Joe punched Jeff would probably even be more clear if it was Joe punched him. That'll teach you. Because especially with the subject being Joe, we know, or we can imply, that that same actor will carry over into the dialogue that is in that same paragraph. But then Joe punched him is even more clear. If it was Joe punched Jeff and said, it's all about clarity. Is there enough there for the reader to understand, okay, this is who's making that action? Another question I get a lot about with dialogue tags is when to use periods and when to use commas. And the next two are kind of examples of that, right? And the top two as well, right? Joe punched Jeff is a complete thought. It's its own thing. And the only thing that really carries over into the dialogue is the implication of who's acting or speaking. Same with the stuff further below, right? Joe punched Jeff and said, comma, because that sentence doesn't have meaning until we know what is said. It's modifying. That dialogue modifies the implication of the sentence. It's defining what is said. And that kind of goes down from below. Joe punched Jeff and laughed. That'll teach you. And then why does the bottom one have a comma? Joe punched Jeff and laughed. That'll teach you. And so the corny way that to kind of think about this is if he finished laughing, right? If Joe punched Jeff, haha, and then he says, that'll teach you. And the comma is if the dialogue is said in a laughing way, I guess, which I don't like using these colorful dialogue tags in general, but sometimes there's a place for them. This could be like Joe punched Jeff and and as he's saying, he's like, that'll teach you, at the same time. So that's where the comma maybe would come in and when you would use it in those more ambiguous cases. I hope that helps. And yeah, dialogue and the way it's changing, especially with stuff like film and television, making things leaking into novel writing and making things generally much more dialogue heavy. It's going to become increasingly important. So it's something, feel free to ask more questions when I'm streaming, stuff like that. And I will always be happy to answer questions because I think it can really upskill your writing quite a bit if you use some of these techniques. So good luck and happy writing.